unfortunately, our next guy over here, he says, I want to know what WTF, you know what that means?
Yes, I do.
I want to know WTF is in my food.
Oh, okay.
How does one draw the line between my right to know and a corporation's right to make and sell a product, even if it could be deemed unsafe?
There's the Matrix talking. So I get this guy mad. That's the Matrix talking. You're thinking you're trying to understand his question here, right? What he comes off of here is he thinks let's say you're producing food, right? And I say, Mario, I got a right to know what's in that food that you're producing. I want you to label it.
And this is Proposition 37.
Proposition 37. All right, I want you to label that. You got to label that, or hell, you're going to pay hell. What are you going to tell me?
I'm going to say, hey, kick rocks, Mike. Get out of my store, buddy.
No, you have to label that, because I know you're going to have some harmful stuff in there, and I want you to label it.
Honestly, being the nice guy that I am, I'm going to say, Mike, please get out of my face, man, and go.
Oh, you mean I don't have to buy it?
No, you don't have to buy it.
Oh, and I can't make you label it so I know it's safe?
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I say, hey, man, if you don't like the way I'm running my business here, right?
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable with what I'm selling, then don't buy it, man.
Oh, so these are the same guys that think if they get 51% of the people together to vote and say, Mario, you have to label that food, then because they got 51% of the people, now they can use the force of government against you. Now they can shut you down if you don't kowtow and do what they told you to do. That's what these people think. Now they think that somehow they're victimized because they don't know what's in their food. Okay? They're victimized because they don't know what's in their food, and if they make you put a label on there what's in their food, then now they're going to be safe. All right? So if you're a bad guy that's going to give them rotten food, are you going to give them rotten food? You're going to stop. Now you're not going to give them rotten food because you got a label on there, so you can't give them rotten food, right? Because now you got a label on there that says you can't give them. But they're saying that at the same time they're saying that genetically modified foods are hazardous, they're dangerous, they kill you. And so what's their real agenda? Is their real agenda to outlaw these foods, if that's what they think?
I think so.
Go on, just hit that some more. If that food is really genetically modified food, is harmful, is harming people, and they're certain, then they must have proof, and they can go into a court of law and say, this food product here gave me cancer, and here's the proof.
Right.
I got the proof.
Right.
Now, the same people that are arguing this point on the Prop 37,
yeah.
If you talk to those people and you say, global warming is happening, it's real, it's man-made, it's caused by man, they're going to say, no, that's junk science. But they really know that GMOs are bad for you. How do they know? They read it. Someplace that said GMOs are bad for you. Did they read all the scientific information, pros and cons and all of that? Heck no. They got tyranny upon their mind. They heard it somewhere. But nonetheless, does that mean in a free society that they have the right to make the producer of food label their products any way, shape, or form? They say, oh, they're already labeling them, so we're just adding something else.
Right, right.
Well, does the underlying thing, are they made to label these? Now, if they really wanted safe foods, somebody I know, a friend of mine today told me, if you want safe food, don't buy anything with a label. Don't eat anything with a label. Go buy stuff that doesn't have a label on it, you know?
Fresh food.
And what, Henry's or someplace like that?
Yeah, you could get it there.
Yeah, and that's what they have. But it's amazing to me, these people that are arguing for this position, they say it's something about freedom. Someone that was arguing this position.
Well, it's a right.
It's a right.
I have a right to know it.
I have a right to know the food's safe.
I mean, you do.
Yeah.
You have a right to know what's in your food, right?
Yeah, and if somebody like Mario won't tell you, you have a right to go somewhere else and they'll tell you.
And isn't that where this ends?
That's where it ends.
I mean, you have a right to know what's in your food.
Right.
So you have a right to ask what's in your food. Right?
Right.
So if you ask somebody what's in the food that they're going to sell you,
right,
and they say, I'm not going to tell you,
right,
do you have a right to put a gun to their head and tell them, you have to tell me what's in this food?
Well, they think so, and then what their argument's going to be based on, the food is genetically modified, and therefore it's harmful, and if you don't tell me, you're selling me food that's harmful. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the bottom line is, if someone is selling you food that's harmful, whether it's labeled or not labeled, and causes you damage, you have recourse.
Yeah.
You have legal recourse.
Right.
People don't sell you good food because there's a law that says they got to sell you good food.
No, they sell you good food because there's a law that says if you are poisoned or something from the food that they sell you, that there can be repercussions.
And they want to make profit.
Yeah, they want to stay in business.
They want to stay in business. They want to make a profit. So that's why it happens. Now, somebody that was arguing on this position on 37, they were arguing, one of their examples of argument was, like, the smoking laws are good laws because we have a right to go into a restaurant that isn't filled with plumes of smoke that's detrimental to us. We have this right to be free of this smoke. And I'm going, this is somebody's business. You have a right to tell them what they do in the business? Yeah, but I like their lasagna. I want their lasagna. It's great lasagna. And I have a right to be free of smoke when I get this lasagna. And it's like, wait a minute here. You think that you can make this business owner the same scenario with the gun. You can't do it with a gun.
Because that's every government program, right?
That's every single government program
is a gun.
Is a gun. And so they think if they think we live in a democracy. If we get 51% of the people, we can make this restaurant owner ban smoking. Because I have a right to be free of smoking, is what they say. Yes, you do. And that business owner has a right to say, we allow smoking in this restaurant. We don't care about no health department A, B, C, or D, or any of that stuff. We don't care if fat people come in here, skinny people, ugly people, any kind of people come in here. And if you don't like it, take your arse somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, and that's why I see this as being the short-sightedness of folks. You know, they say, I have a right to know, and my right to know trumps your right to run your business the way that you think is the proper way to run it.
Where do they get this right to know?
Well,
where does that come from? I understand people have property rights.
Yeah.
They have a right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But the right to know something, where does that come from?
I'm trying to understand this, Mike, because you know me, right? I'm vegan.
Yeah.
Right. I try to eat organic foods. I appreciate organic foods. I think they taste better than things that have been sprayed with pesticides. I would even argue the fact that GMO foods they don't taste as good. Perhaps this has something to do with the fact that because they already have pesticides built into them, they don't have to be brought to the full stage of ripeness, and so then the food just kind of tastes bad. And I've read a lot of studies about the cancerous effects of GMO foods, and so I would say hey, this is a legitimate concern. If this is something that you want, then you should go for it. But to think that I can somehow, because of my own tastes, my own wants, just start to dictate the way that the person who I'm voluntarily going to go and purchase something from runs their business. This just reeks of of tyranny, really, but it also, to me, reeks of dependency, right? Because, like, when I go to the store and I go to look to see if something has GMOs in it, it's very easy for me to tell this because there's already a niche. There's companies out there that have said, hey, you know what? There's a million guys like Mario out here who, for some reason, be it legit or not, think that by not eating GMO foods, their life is going to be improved. They're willing to feel the financial effects because we can charge more. And so we got these folks over here. We've created this market. And so it's already happening, right? And so when I see folks ready to tell the government, well, it's not happening fast enough, or it's not happening on a wide enough scale. Y'all need to get your guns in here and make sure that people are doing it. See, I feel like it's my responsibility as somebody who has these concerns to say, okay, is this ingredient in there? That's my responsibility, right? That's not the government's responsibility to do this. And so I'm kind of puzzled because of how many people that I know who are involved in this liberty movement, right? Who last month were saying, you guys can't tell us we can't drink raw milk. You can't tell us what we can eat. It's not your business to tell us what we can eat. But all of a sudden they're saying, but it's your business to tell us what we're eating. That's a legit function of the government. You can't tell us what to, but you can tell us what we are. It's my responsibility to decide what I ingest, but it's not my responsibility to ask the question or to seek out businesses who are taking those steps. So this is why I say that it reeks of dependency, right? It's because people are not being independent when they look to the government to say, okay, well, you do this for me. You do this for me.
And you know what? They actually claim that there's no cost involved, okay?
Now, you know, man,
they actually claim it's no cost. Now, the reason I mentioned cost,
because I know you don't like to take the utilitarian approach on these things, man.
But the reason I mentioned cost is people like me, give me that GMO stuff.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
All right? I used to smoke cigarettes and do dope. But I don't care.
You can't genetically modify dope, though. Just
yeah, you can. But anyways, so it ain't going to cost any more, they say. Well, certainly it's going to cost any more. Now, because it's on the package, now it says this product contains GMO, there'll be some folks that'll go, oh, man, I heard GMOs are bad. I ain't buying this. Okay?
Right.
So it's going to hurt their profit line.
Right.
It's going to help the guys that are selling the nut, because those people go over to the competition there that sells the non-GMO stuff. And so they're going to have to do something, either spend more money on advertising.
Yes.
They're going to have to, if they have to spend money to prove that they got independent laboratories that they have to pay $1 million or several million a year to prove that, to verify that there are no GMO products in it and whatnot. These things are added to the cost. People say that Occupation Safety and Health Act from the federal government, that's not going to cost people any money, whatever. Somebody comes in with a lawsuit, and no, this is under the Americans with Disability Act.
ADA.
Yeah, they come in with a lawsuit. It's just a law. You just obey it. It's not going to cost any money. People come in a lawsuit and say, well, that doesn't comply, this doesn't comply, and that doesn't comply. And there are people that come into a business that are not even a business that's open to the public. I mean, it's not. They got no reason to come into it. It's just somebody's office where he does his, types his reports or whatever.
Right.
And so that costs money to go answer these lawsuits and to comply with all of that stuff. So it will raise the cost.
Right.
Even the non-GMO foods, all right, if they have to get into actually proving that they're not GMO, they have to spend the cost to do that. That's going to raise the cost of their food. And why do I mention cost? Not because it's utilitarian and it's, look, this is the cost. It is my property that they're taking from me.
Yes.
That they're passing on to me, that they're plundering from me.
If it's 1 penny, it's a violation of your property, because there is no right. There is no right to know there. This was the other example I used about this right to know thing. And I'm totally agreeing with you, Mike. There's going to be all types of costs here, man. The only reason why you're not seeing widespread protest against this proposition right now is because they've exempted restaurants, they've exempted dairy products, they've exempted meat products.
Alcohol.
They've exempted alcohol.
Boy, if they didn't exempt alcohol, this would go down in a flame.
This would go down. No, this is what I'm saying. So it's acclamation, though. And so you got these people who are saying, oh, there's not going to be any cost. This isn't going to affect the little man. I want to remind those people that they thought the same thing was going to be a benefit when they allowed the health department inside of Portland to shut down anybody who was operating without a license, right? What happened 2 years ago? Little girl's got a lemonade stand, man.
Wait a minute. I got it. I just changed my mind. I just had a epiphany, cognition.
That's one of those weeds growing, man.
I'm thinking that this is a good idea to label. I want people that got AIDS to have a label right on their forehead.
Well, why not?
Come on.
I mean, if you have herpes, you should have to have a label on you.
Herpes.
Because I have a right to know.
Herpes, right?
Right. I mean, this is the craziness of it.
What other kind of things can we?
Well,
bad breath label.
Yeah,
bacteria. Abundant.
Yeah, because if somebody was going to date you, and they might, at some point.
Yeah.
Then they
how about sterile?
Exactly. Well, this is it, right? They shut down the little girl in the lemonade stand. This is acclamation. It starts off, not that many people are affected, so the whole bunch can come in and put the tyranny onto it. Here's another example I have to this idea.
I have the right to know
you have
got AIDS.
You have the right to know, right? Okay. My wife, right?
Yeah.
I have the right to know if she's cheating on me. Would you agree?
Yeah, she has to wear a label.
No. I mean, I have the right to know. I have the right to ask her.
Yeah.
So, hey, are you cheating on me, right?
Yeah.
And if she says, I'm not going to tell you, do I have the right to put a gun to her head and say, you're going to tell me whether or not you're cheating on me?
No, but if you get 51% of the people to vote for it, you can get it done that way.
And then I can put her in a burqa, mandatory burqa, because this is...
you got it right.
And this, it's just a total violation.
How's the chat room going?
Well, it looks like we have, Void and Irene, they're having some back and forth here. Irene did bring up something, though, and I think she says, so no labels. And this is what I've got to, Mike. This is and this is why I'm happy that this proposition has come up, because as I've worked through this and I've looked at things in a free market perspective, right? Thinking anti-tyranny, tyranny busting, I've come to determine that my opinion is the government mandating that people put any labels on the food that they sell, that's not a proper function of government.
No, it's not.
And so, let's think about this, though, right? It's not a proper function of government. So, say the government could never mandate that you had labels on there. So, of course, there's going to be some people who just don't care. So I have Mario soup, right?
Right.
And I just put that on the shelf, and next to it is Mike's soup, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just decided that I'm not going to put any ingredients on there, right?
Okay.
But Mike says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw these. I'm happy with what I put in my food.
Right.
I'm going to put the ingredients on here. How long do you think I would be able to last against you if I didn't label my food? Right? Of course, people are going to say, you know what, man? Unless my soup was just superiorly good, tasted a lot better, right? But if it tasted exactly the same, right? I was using the same ingredients as you. If people are going to say, you know what? That's kind of suspect that Mario doesn't want to tell me what's in the food that he's trying to sell me.
But don't you know we're safer because of the labels? Don't you know how much safer we are because of TSA?
Are we really safer?
Yeah.
Are we really safer?
Well, except for the little girls that are being groped and the grandmothers are being felt.
No, because the real safety here would be to allow pilots to have guns, to allow people to have guns in the airport.
You're not advocating that they shoot the producers for not putting a label on, are you?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying that in a free market, these things work themselves out, and we achieve true freedom.
How did we live before we had labels? How did
we live before? I mean, everybody must have had botulism. Everybody must have just been done. Oh.
It's got a lot of labels on that Spam that Steve's holding over there. You got a lot of labels.
Thanks to our audience here, man.
Got a lot of labels on.
Is this a government label on the outside?
Yeah, here we got.
Is that a government label, or does he volunteer for that?
Here we got a thing of Spam. Now.
That's sodium. That's sodium. But
the government didn't make it that big, right?
No.
You know what government mandated labels look like? They're very, very tiny. Whereas the labels, the guy who's promoting his product, he makes the labels really big.
Right, because he's proud, and he wants you to know what's in his food.
It's marketing. It's gonna sell.
And so, I guess this can of Spam. I mean, this thing is just totally unsafe until we mandate that they put this was GMO food, and then it's all good.
And then it's good. But if you read what's in here, I mean, anybody that's concerned about health, would they really eat this stuff? I mean, I'm not concerned. That's why. And this is sort of like saving for when there's no food anywhere.
Right.
And because we're going to put all these food companies out of business, they'll be too busy. And we're safer because every Chiquita banana's got a little sticker on it. Chiquita banana.
Yeah, the Spam doesn't say 30% more intestines.
Yeah.
It just has less salt. So I'm just saying it's true.
That's stuff. But I'll tell you what I do when I was going on a diet and I wanted to watch calories and stuff, or what carbs, even the natural foods, bananas, apples, whatever. I'd go on the internet and I'd see how many calories it had.
Right.
So if there's a product out there and you want to know if it's got GMO in it, these big corporations, they should tell you. If you ask. If they don't, then you don't buy it.
It's that simple, man.
But, you don't buy it. But then if they did say no, and it turned out that it did, if they said unequivocally no, and it turned out that it did,
that would be fraud.
That'd be fraud.
And that's the proper function of government right there, right? Is to deal with fraud.
Right.
But not to be proactive in helping you make these decisions for yourself. And that's why I say this is just dependency, man. It's like I wonder how many people who are gonna vote for this, right?
I think it's going to pass because people want security, want more security. They keep voting for these things. Same people say, I'm for less government, I'm for small government. They'll vote for this stuff. And one on top of another, on top of another. You look at it, read it. I left it over there on my desk, but you read it, you could say, well, this looks like work for lawyers. I know, because it's ambiguous here and there, and lawyers can,
it is.
It creates work
this
for lawyers.
A lawyer's, this is their love. This was created by lawyers, I imagine. So people are going to say, oh, you guys are anti-GMO labeling, right? So you might say, I don't care about GMOs, right? I don't care. Okay, we'll say say me for instance, that I am pro-GMO labeling, right? That I think that I respect a company who puts this information out as a way to have transparency in between the contract of it and its consumers. And I thought that Adam Kokesh, he summed it up nicely today too. And I've been pushing on him because he says he's a not statist, and he kind of challenges a lot of these issues. So I said, Adam, when are you going to come out in Prop 37, man? What's the deal here? And this guy today, he wasn't answering to me, but this guy today, he wrote up a little blurb about Adam, saying that there was these plus sides, but he was smashing him because Adam had came out saying no on 37. And the guy says, oh, Adam's anti-GMO labeling. Adam said, I'm not against GMO labeling. I'm against forced government labeling. That's like saying I'm anti-lovemaking because I oppose rape. I thought that summed it up nicely. You can't... And then what was awesome about this on his tweet is the next thing, the picture that he sent out was some of his cereal boxes that he had in his cupboard. And it was of cereal bought from companies who have already labeled their things, said non-GMO on it. So, see, we have peaceful, proper means to go about achieving our goals without hiring the government guns and pandering to the other. Forget this 51%, right? Because that's a scam. This is 50.000000001%. Right? You just have one other person, and all of a sudden the other, huge minority. They don't have any say in this, man. Who cares about their rights? So I wanted to give a shout out to him, man, because I thought that summed up it very nicely. Not against this, but
when I go to the restaurant and get breakfast, eggs and bacon and pancakes, toast or something, juice, I want them labeled from now on. Can we have a proposition for that?
Well, it's coming.
I want a label right on the pancakes and the eggs.
You got a right to know, Mike.
I have a right to know.
You got a right to know. And so I would also challenge people who are on the yes side of this, right, to say, okay, you got a right to know.
Hey, wait a minute. If smoking's harmful, right? Bacteria's harmful, right? Don't all people emit bacteria when they're breathing?
Yeah. I would say that's a condition of breathing.
Who's going to protect us from that?
Well, we should have a prop, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, we have to invent. We have a new invention coming out in technology where everyone can put it on there, and it'll go up to an LED next to you, and it'll show any diseases that you may have, like I got a flu or a cold. It'll say I got the flu or I got the cold because it'll measure that.
Mandated.
And now, but not. It's not an optional thing. We're going to mandate everybody has that ability to know when something.
I'm glad that's coming on the horizon because, I was worried about the next thing after this is accomplished. Then what's the next thing? And I was worried about that. Now we got that covered. So,
So it really comes down to do you believe in freedom, right? And are you ready to ride it out? It's not just a matter of you believe.
I forgot to tell you something. You have to prove up these things under this mandatory labeling. There's going to be paperwork in proving it up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because the government agencies, they like that. OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health, whatever, that one, 95% of the violations are paperwork violations. And they get fined for that because they didn't do the paperwork right.
Well, maybe those are the shovel-ready jobs they're trying to get. That's what it is.
Yeah, that'll put people to work.
Shoveling paper.
Yep. So what are they saying, Mario?
Well, I mean, one of our folks here, she's obviously very much against GMO. She's saying that RT is going to have a film where a GMO-fed mouse is they're going to show this, and you're going to be able to see the tumor grow. And it's like, well, if something is
that's good. They can take that proof. And now she wants to outlaw GMO.
I mean, that's it right there.
So take that proof and outlaw the product. Or she wants to, like cigarettes, put on there that this product is hazardous to your health.
And will cause cancer.
So
that was another, I've been trying to do the Socratic thing a little more lately. Yeah. And a couple people have reached out to me about Prop 37. I asked them, I said, okay, well, you're concerned that it causes cancer. Right. Do you think that we should have to label this food the same way that cigarettes are? This can cause cancer. And he said, absolutely. So I said, well, what's the principle here? Do we label foods that cause cavities? I mean, if you buy something with sugar in it, right? Should there also be a label on there that says...
This causes diabetes?
This causes diabetes, this causes stress, this causes sleeplessness, this causes cavity, this causes obesity.
Aspartame causes cancer.
Right? So why do we stop at cancer? What is so magical about this disease of cancer?
So we'll label everything causes something, right? Negative?
Right.
Who's going to pay attention to the label? Who's going to say, look, everything causes stuff, so...
Right. And so this is what it is, man. It's your personal responsibility. It's your responsibility, right? If you have an allergy, right? And this is what I think is the nonsense about labeling peanuts, or you have to label every allergen. It's like, if you have an allergy, it's not the person's responsibility who's selling you the food to make sure that they go through your medical history and determine whether or not that food is safe for you to eat. No, it's your responsibility.
Find out if that peanuts or peanut oil's in the food.
Whatever it is.
Whatever the allergy is.
And so, you know what? It's going to be GMO. You got to label. Pretty soon it's going to be every food that has gluten.
So if mandatory labeling is acceptable to people, mandatory flu shots are acceptable too, right?
Mike, keep on going, man, because that's what it is.
Mandatory flu shots, right?
Yes.
Because you know, you might get the flu, and people get these shots and die from them, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but mandatory flu shots, we got to do that because it's for safety. They're safety, and if they get the flu, they can pass the flu on to somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mandatory flu shots, that's good too, right?
Well, and so here this is it, man. It's like, so I think this is what I'm thinking, man, is that if we did have a free market here, I would like to think that I and people like me who eat organic foods.
Wait a minute. Does drinking alcohol cause cirrhosis of the liver?
Yeah, it does.
Do they got that on the label?
I don't think so.
And if we didn't have cigarette smoking is dangerous and whatever, we wouldn't know that if it wasn't on the label,
By
right?
the way, all the alcohol is made with GMO grain.
Alcohol made with GMO grain. But we wouldn't know. We're going to outlaw all that stuff. Well, go back to prohibition. That works.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like people identify prohibition as tyranny, right?
Yeah.
But they don't see they don't see mandates as tyranny. So prohibiting is saying that you can't do something.
Right.
The mandate is saying that you have to do something.
They don't say that impacts on their liberty too.
Hey, what if somebody makes a GMO food? It's a new GMO food that's not based on getting it to market or making it preserve well and those type of things, or resist insect damage to the crops. What if they do a GMO that is so nutritious it prevents cancer, but now we've outlawed GMOs? So then the people that are eating GMO food underground to get free of cancer, then they're like those people doing prohibition.
No, it's true.
Well, there's no substitute for individual responsibility, and that's freedom, see, is when you take responsibility for anything, then you're truly free. If someone else mandates or dictates a thing, you're not free. And if they are protecting you, you're a dependent, okay?
Right.
But if you want freedom, then you do your own research and you check things out and you become more responsible. I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me, what are you drinking that Diet Coke for? It's got aspartame in it, and aspartame causes cancer. And I go, oh, okay, thanks. And but I quit drinking it for other reasons, but not that. So the thing is that you can know these products are harmful or not harmful, even if you suspect that they might be harmful. Then I wonder how many of these people that want labeling are going to not drink alcohol anymore because it's all loaded with it, or some of these other products. But if they want to know that the food they're eating is not GMO, can they not do that already?
Yes, they can. Absolutely. That's why you know that this is not about the individual saying, I have the right to know, because they already have access to that. There's already methods. I mean, how hard is it to email a company? How hard is it to call an 800 number and ask them this question? It's not about that, man. This is about one group of people saying, this other group is too stupid to know what's good for them. So we need to help them understand what's bad for them. Right? These people are too stupid to ask this question. So we're going to go ahead and just give them the answer.
No, but I heard him say it's because these evil corporations are poisoning us with GMO. That's what it's about.
Yeah, because they're holding you down and forcing you to eat this food.
That's right. That's what
they're forcing
doing.
you down. I mean,
got no choice.
Food tube. What do they call that when you're unconscious and you got a feeding tube and it's just inside of you and they're just pumping the GMO and you can't do anything.
Kind of like me forcing you to eat meat, eggs, cheese, and stuff. I've been doing that, right?
Yeah, all people have to do is vote. And when with government, you go down a ballot box. With a corporation,
money.
This
Yeah.
is how you vote every
vote,
time you
vote.
spend your
That's
money.
the free market.
Yeah,
That's
that's how
the-
you vote. And unfortunately, what's interesting that they can't vote. You know, you're supposed to be able to vote with your dollars. Is they're also saying people are too stupid in their voting with their dollars, but yet you're going to educate them how to vote at a ballot for their leaders. Maybe that is our problem: is that we all have given up responsibility for everything.
Well, yeah, they want
That
people
is-
to make the decisions
that
for
is,
them
man.
and to tell them.
That
We
is.
want to
You
see
know.
on a ballot list to tell us who to vote for because we won't even read the propositions
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. Well,
So who's winning the debate in the chat room?
well, I don't think we're winning over Irene here. You know, she's
Well, tell Irene not to worry. It's going to pass because people want more security. And no matter how much people like us say that when you just seek security you're giving up liberty, that you're going to end up with neither. And here they're talking about this. Now, people wonder why the gasoline in California costs more than the rest of the country. And people have said, well, California's the leader on innovation. But at the same time, they understand that all the negative stuff about California, it starts here first too. But gasoline is more expensive here in California because our state legislators have fixed it so we got special gasoline blend for California.
right.
And there's only a few refineries for that blend.
So we
Right.
have cleaner air, right?
Yeah,
Right.
so we have cleaner air. It didn't have anything to do with taking lead out of the gas, which was toxic material that shouldn't be in there, or the cars being more efficient, burning the fuels more efficiently. That really cleaned up the air. But so the special blend, when the supply is restricted, and I think they release it when the temperature
In the winter
in
time.
the wintertime, and if we have a longer summer,
Right.
they're not prepared and they got limited supplies, so the price goes way up. And if you have to refine something or do something for one state, that state's going to pay a heavier price for it because it's just being done for that state, and it doesn't have the competitive ability for a large market to reduce the cost.
Well, actually, it's funny because when they ask for cleaner air, the oil companies, which are always businessmen, are smarter than politicians and people that are political activists, and they're lobbyists. They decided, well, we have a way to make the percentage of air pollution a fraction less, but we won't tell them that, we won't reveal to them that this chemical that reduces and cleans the air is very water soluble, will go down the water table and destroy 100% of the water table in California that's exposed to it. We won't mention that part. And we'll have exclusive monopoly because these refineries for this special stuff is going to be limited to just 2 or 3 of us oil companies, and therefore there's less refinery capacity because there's not a diversity of oil
Oh
companies.
yeah. Well, it
Well, yeah.
makes the price go
they
up.
can charge more.
It makes the price. We're just seeing it right now. They made the price go up. Now they get to step in 2 weeks before they were allowed to release the winter blend. Governor Brown comes out and says, "I'm letting you guys have it 2 weeks sooner," and everybody falls to the altar and says, "Oh, Jerry, you're so compassionate. I love you. Brown for God."
Or the same thing is like cap and trade, right? The people, they don't think this is going to be a political football that they get benefits from and whatnot, waivers and whatnot. The cap and trade benefits certain companies over another.
Right.
And it's just more government micromanagement. But the thing that stands out to me more than anything else is that people are thinking, well, this is really something we got to get past. And we're in the midst of a collapsing economic system.
Go ahead.
And we're in the midst of a collapsing currency because of the Federal Reserve.
Right.
And a collapsing society all around us. And it's because people, basically, the root of the whole problem is they're giving up freedom for security, but it's because people think that government that governs least governs best, so give me more government.
Right.
Give me more government.
Right.
Because government that governs least governs best, so I want more of it.
Right, and so that's exactly it, Mike. So what I'm saying is, like, if this was a real situation, now people, and say this passes and everybody has to see GMO labels, right? Now people are going to attribute that to the government, and so their political muscle becomes atrophied, or their ability to associate freely becomes atrophied. Whereas if they didn't request that the government step in and do this, unified, and was able to make a large enough ripple inside of the market to where companies, by and large, were forced to put this label on, they would feel accomplished. And they would feel empowered because they'd say...
And it also justifies this future government action because if you notice, even people who want less government, even among the clique that who like government but want this 137, every time they say, we already have labeling now, what's the big deal?
And so they...
Say,
exactly.
It becomes the justification for more government,
exactly.
even among people.
Exactly.
Because people can't imagine unwinding government. They can't understand that you're going to get rid of laws. There's no politician saying, I'm going to go and undo 5,000 laws when I'm in office this quarter. It's always what I can do for you, not what I can undo for you.
Except for the man, Ron Paul.
So, and that's the thing, 51% want this one, 51% want something that they don't want, and 51% want this one, and then it just piles up like that.
It becomes acceptable,
and
there's no undoing.
Then there's no undoing, and those that are in charge, that you elect as your masters, dictate what you do from there on out, and that's the end of it.
Once these precedences take place, the most interesting thing is they block the mind from imagining private, non-governmental solutions.
Exactly.
Even if you're anti-government, your mind hates the unknown, and the fear of the unknown is everybody is against the libertarians because they think it's anarchy. That's the bad word they throw out. Just like they'll throw out to conservatives, they're racist. They always tell libertarians when they want to insult them, they say, you're going too much to anarchy. Because their mind, they can't conceive of private alternatives to government action.
All right, they already conceived that people wouldn't be educated if it wasn't for government schools. And if government was that involved in the food or the clothing industry, it would be the same concept. But I think we're coming down to the end.
Yeah, we are, man. And so I think it was a productive conversation that we had here. And if I could close on one thing here, it's... and I don't want to look like a jockey or somebody or who's just totally on the man's jock, but I know a lot of people who watch this show, they're from our group, from our Ron Paul group, and if you're yes on 37, I just want you to think, how would Ron Paul vote on this, right? The principled constitutionalist that he is, guy who believes in personal responsibility. How would he vote on this? And if he voted no on this, would you think that he was less principled in his approach to the proper function of government?
All right, very good.
All right, thanks for joining us.
See you next
week. Have a good night.
I like your ending, man. I like
Tyranny Busters. Tyranny Busters. Tyranny Busters. Tyranny Busters. Busters.